Hey everybody, welcome back to Pace Yourself. Today we're going to be talking about the environment or space that we create for students. It's really interesting because whenever I work with teachers on the ground, and I'll probably say this a few times within this session, what people most often want to know is how to physically create an environment that we can consider a makerspace and how to fill that environment with the right stuff. And I don't want to dodge those questions. So I will tell you that, the bulk of this session is going to be about answering those questions specifically. But I really want to encourage all of you, if that's what you're wondering, to think critically about what making really is. It is a highly inventive, creative, and empathetic experience. When we make something for someone, we don't necessarily know what it's going to be when we begin. We don't necessarily know how it will evolve. And oftentimes we go through a little bit of struggle and some real moments of pure inspiration as we're creating this thing that's going to make a difference for someone else, whether it helps them realize an opportunity or solve a problem, or it's just something that simply delights them. Making is a little bit different than what we do inside of traditional classrooms and writers' workshops in that we might say to students, we're all going to be writing a story today, or we're all going to be writing an argument. But once we begin to integrate making, the mediums and the modalities change a little bit. It's not always print. And we give kids a lot more power and control. And in relinquishing it, we open up to the fact that it's not going to necessarily lead to a perfect product initially. So making is an experience that challenges everyone to control for creativity as well as they control for quality. And that's really what the space is all about. The space itself becomes a teacher when we begin to take a less directive role inside of the classroom. And so today's conversation is all about how do we create a maker space that inspires really great making and kind of supports the culture of the maker experience. There are some different pieces to this particular course. Each of the phases of makerspace design will be explored in depth within this particular module. And so we'll be looking at phase 1, which I call visualize. We'll be looking at phase 2, which I call customize. And we'll be looking at phase 3, which I call specialize. Those 3 phases unfold over the course of time. And the speed with which we move through them varies from one place to the next. And I find that we cycle back through them over and over and over again as well. So my biggest bit of advice right from the start is to be patient with yourself and be patient with your students, and know that it doesn't make any sense to spend a lot of time or money necessarily fretting over the space until your kids are in it. What does make sense is to start with a real clear vision of why you want to make in that space and why your students do, and what that making will look like, and why you want to write there. What are your purposes? So we're going to begin with visioning, and I'm going to share some processes for accomplishing that well with your students so that the space is really reflective of their interests and needs. And then I'm going to take you on some field trips. Those field trips will help you once the space and the environment itself is constructed. Those field trips will help you fill it without spending a fortune. And so I'm excited that you're here. I encourage you to print the blueprint that I've linked to and start there first. Take a peek at especially the first pages of that blueprint, where I introduce what the floor plan looks like, what the foundation and the frame of your particular space could entail, and reflect a little bit on the second page as you begin to think about what you already know about your students, what you want to know about them, and most importantly, how you intend to figure that out in the second phase of the work. So in the first phase, you're visualizing with your students what the space will look like before you really begin to use it in earnest. And in the second phase, you get to know your kids even better as they start to use the space, and you use that information to customize it as you go. Specialization really has to do with recognizing that some of your students are developing a very deep and sustained passion, expertise, or interest in something, and it becomes maybe worth it to spend some more significant money or more significant time on developing one aspect of your space. So print the blueprint, start there, look at the first couple of pages and think through them. And then the slides again will guide you through most of the critical content for this session, including the field trips that I've referred to. Come in, find me on Twitter at Angela Stockman or in the Facebook group Building Better Writers, or comment and leave a note for me inside of Pace Yourself as well. I'd love to talk with you more as you go and see how this information is resonating with you and how I can be a better service too. So let me know how it's going. I look forward to hearing from you.